Hello everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We have today with us Shenaz Bapooji, a renowned founder, CMO, marketing and branding specialist with over 30 years of work experience in marketing and sales. She has spent 2 decades with global advertising giant Oligvi and built successful brands for Himalayas, ITC, Infosys, SAP, Tata Steel, and more. As CMO of Shopmatic Group, she built the brand from scratch and got it acquired. She has recently started a marketing agency, Skyful, and I just thought of getting her on the show to get most of the marketing insights from her. Welcome, Shehnaz, on the podcast. It is really great to have you.
Thank you,
So,
Sushank. Very good to be here. Thank
we
you.
met. We met when she was at Shopmatic, when she was CMO at Shopmatic,
Yeah,
and
good days, happy days.
yes, we are still a client of Shopmatic. We run our website through Shopmatic.
That's awesome to know, and great to see your progress as well, Sushank.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I was like doing really well, and I think you've like invaded the online world really well.
Oh, thank you so much. Although I still have my fingers crossed, I'm not, till the time we really make it big. Uh, New challenges every day. These
Hmm.
marketplaces are just evolving. They're changing their policies, and we're just adapting quickly. So it's a day one for us daily.
Yeah, वो तो है, but like I think you're on the right track because you didn't limit yourself to one online tool. You went in, you created your website, which is an e-commerce website, Shopmatic में, and then you did a lot of stuff with marketplaces. And I don't know if you're leveraging WhatsApp marketing, but I'm sure like you've explored a lot of stuff
On the
and
way, that is on the way. Yes.
so yeah, very good.
Thank
Good to
you.
hear.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So Shehnaz, tell us, you have been, working for last 30 years now, and clearly times have changed. So how do you see this? How has, I mean, you're the best person to just tell us ki how have the things really changed in marketing? How do companies approach marketing differently now, and how was it before?
I think the fundamentals to do with the fundamentals around brand building, what it takes to understand the customer, what should your proposition be, what's your USP, how do you get a great go to market strategy going. I think those fundamental tenets have not changed over time, but what has changed is the landscape. So pehle, there used to be like at the start we used to have a lot of print advertising, a lot of television advertising, a lot of outdoor advertising, radio. I mean, the media mix was very different. Today the media mix, I mean, those things are not going away anywhere. They're there and they're doing well in their own spaces, but the digital world has like really transformed the market. Today you can sit in Kanpur, you can sit in Bangalore, you can sit anywhere in the country and sell to someone anywhere in the world. And
Hmm.
it's not like it's if your brand resonates with people across the world, whoever that customer set is, then you become a global brand. I mean,
Yes.
you kind of get liked by people who are wherever they are because they are latching on to you for a reason. And like
Yes.
that in our like growing up advertising or marketing days, we used to have a concept called universal human truth. Okay.
Universal human truth. Okay.
Universal human truth. So universal human truths are like you may be like wherever you're sitting, whoever you are, whatever your race, caste, creed, doesn't matter, because there are certain truths that will drive a set of people across the world. It doesn't matter where you're situated. So, for example, if you say enjoy gifting, just example sake, okay, uh, and you're like extremely fond of your the child, like the parent-child relationship, or you're like if you are say I'm just like trying to think of universal human truths which can apply to today's context. But if you want to be seen to be moving with the times, Okay, and you ascribe to an attitude for a brand, an attitude, okay, which translates itself to beyond just the product of physical product. The brand does something to that person, and if you stitch all of those pieces together across the world, you will find customers that latch on to you because they are bound by this universal human truth which drives them. And
Wow.
so it's like, I mean, honestly, like when people said that there's in marketing you should apply a lot of common sense. I mean, if you look back and you distill it out and you speak without the jargon, है ना, then it makes sense. And then you wonder, Arey, why did I not do this, or why did I not think of it this way? One of the biggest things I've kind of experienced in the 30 years. I think I should stop saying 30 years because the next question people ask me is, Shanaz, आपका age क्या है?
Yeah.
So yeah, in these 30 years of experience, I mean, you've seen the whole landscape change, but yeah, fundamentals of business and brand building and marketing have not changed. And today you have a lot of this startup ecosystem. A lot of people are taking to entrepreneurship. Everybody is like, there's uh, everybody's trying to do something, whether they're doing it from their homes or whether it's a slightly more um, formalized kind of a structure. But at the end of the day, entrepreneurship, it's at its best levels right now, and India is of course
Yes.
leading the charge. We know that. And one of the biggest things that I find myself telling a lot of the startups is exactly this, which is that while you'll jump ahead and you'll try and look at execution and you'll try and do this, don't forget the fundamentals of what makes the brand. And
Okay. So, how has the marketing mix changed? Because as a D2C brand, when I approach marketing, certainly, and with the limited budget that I operate in, and most of the brands they operate in when they start up, their mix is only digital. But I'm sure as brands grow up with bigger brands, they have newspaper ads and TV ads and outdoor advertisements. So, how has the mix really changed for startups, and how is it different for big brands?
so one big change is that in the earlier years, not every company or not every entrepreneur had the guts to go out and create their own identity in the market because they thought that was a very expensive proposition. The reason being that television not everybody could afford, है ना?
Yes.
Print not everybody could afford. Even today, the rates are very high.
So
Uh,
I was doing marketing at Doordarshan Delhi,
हाँ,
and I used to handle them for brands for ministries,
hmm,
and we used to burn crores of rupees, in a marketing plan like anything.
हाँ,
I
हाँ.
really I
We
have done
both
it myself, so I
हाँ,
really know that how expensive was TV ads, and they still are, I think.
yeah, yeah. So TV print, of course, the landscape there also has changed because you have so many other private channels, that mix. Uh, so a lot of that has come. But the fact of the matter is that today entrepreneurs have the guts to go out and create their brand because they know that they can fall back on digital to dent the market. Of course, like it goes without saying that you need to have a product or a service or an offering which is like completely stellar, or it has a unique selling proposition, or it has something that will resonate with people. There's no doubt about that. I mean, so those things don't go out of fashion. Those things are like primary for your existence. They're table stakes. But you see more entrepreneurs coming into the market. And to your question, the landscape change within digital also. Digital is not like one. I mean, how you've done marketplace and that you're sorted, and you've done your website. Each one, as you know rightly, each one has to be managed like a proper channel. I mean, it's like a day's job to manage one route. So you imagine, like, you'll have to put all of that together. You need to know how it works. You need to know what the Google and Meta and Insta and Pinterest. You need to know what the psyche of the people is when they land up on these social channels. You need to know what drives people in marketplaces beyond just discounts. So those things kind of go with out of they're not. um, I mean, they're the most primary things to latch on to. But yeah, I mean, within digital also, like, a lot of people I speak to, they don't understand the whole performance marketing piece. So a lot of people get branding, but they don't get performance marketing. A lot of people get performance marketing because that's how they started, but they don't get the
Yes.
whole other side of brand building.
Branding,
What
yes.
is core to
So there's some people I also see are very good at performance marketing. They just crack the code and they do wonderful selling, but there is no brand. They're selling like crazy, but then there is no brand. So that's
so it
what I also
depends on
see.
so there's a difference between brand and like selling a product. Today everything sells, but there's a limit. If you
Yes.
want that relationship to be built with that customer set and you're really serious about brand building, and that's what I even say with my company, which is that I only work with startups who are serious
For
about this
brand
whole.
building and not just sales.
Huh.
Yes.
Because no, sales is a fallout of good brand building. Na? Like, I mean, what's the point of building your brand if you're not going to be able to sell or run your business? But like, do it right. There is a format. Like, everybody wakes up and says, "Hey, I want to be like so and so." No, I mean, that so and so functions in a very different way. They have a very different mix. Their product is also extremely different. You may aspire to be like a brand, and that's perfectly fine. But one of these common things I hear is that I want to do stuff like this one. But you have to like, yeah, level with yourself also to see that, okay, what is it that you can actually pull off with the resources that you have and with the product mix that you currently have on offer.
Okay,
That's
nice. Now that brings me to my next question.
what.
How should a small startup, a D2C startup, or a small company which is selling good right now, how
Right.
should they start approaching brand building? Any steps, any checklist to be followed? Ki first is this, then is this. Okay, where to
So,
start the brand
I mean,
build?
I don't know how others do it, but I can tell you that the fundamentals of this whole piece, or like, what is like literally at the start point, is to get your proposition going. A lot of people you meet, you will ask them, okay, so what do you do? Okay, and they'll be struggling. And there's this concept called the elevator pitch. So you have
Yes.
to have your elevator pitch really mapped off perfectly for your brand. Otherwise, like, I mean, you're one in millions of brands and products out there. There are so many consumers who are like confused with what they see every day. You need to create a dent. You need to be very sharply positioned. You need to know who your customer franchise is. It's not good enough to just say, "Oh, housewives are my customers." Just because I sell kitchenware, like you would know, doesn't mean that you just go and target a housewife. I mean, sorry, that's just a starting point, and then you'll have a lot of cuts and layers to it. What's the kind, what drives this person? What's the kind of profile of this person? What's the psyche of this person? You have to understand that and then create your niche. So when you start out, I think like the fundamentals is to I don't think you can do any shortcut in understanding your audience really well. That's one thing which is extremely important. Get your customer insights going. Piece that with the knowledge of what you have with the competition. Like, who's selling, like who are the adjacent products to your category, who is like direct competition to you, who's primary competition, who's secondary competition, all of that. Piece the competitive understanding, piece the understanding of your own customer set, and piece the understanding of your own product and what you're able to do and not do. Bring all these three together and then arrive at a proposition. They say na strategy, the best strategies are, you know, they are a kind of a, they're based on sacrifice, because you sacrifice one thing which is very good for something which is even better. You don't start with mediocre. You don't latch on to the obvious. You have to like really work hard to justify why you exist. And if once you have that as your start point, which is like, you've really narrowed down and you've said that, okay, this is my proposition, then you go into the other levels of, okay, possibly that, you need to get exercises going on your brand identity. A lot of times you'll see brands, uh, forget about the logo being the only constant. You will find that the colors don't match, the fonts don't match. One creative looks completely different from another creative. uh, if you're trying to create an identity in the minds of people so that they remember you as a brand, and if you confuse them with consistent
Mm-hmm.
kind of creative cues, I'm sorry, you've lost your chance at making an impression with that customer. And
So there's a
getting
lot of consistency in your even ad copies or in marketing communication materials, collaterals.
so for me, like when you write an ad, like all of that is execution which comes in later. But like identify your, like you have to get your brand identity going. Why? What is the voice of the brand? How will the brand look? How should the brand be perceived? There's a tonality that you want to, like, so for example, you want to be seen to be a knowledgeable expert in, say, kitchenware. Okay, which is different from saying that I am your neighborhood kitchen store, where you can, latch on to anything, and I'll be there for a solution. You have to decide what your core proposition is, and you have to decide the language, the tonality, the visual cues as to why you will exist and how you will say what you will say. That also makes a big difference, and you have to consistently drive that. That's the job, because you're telling a story, and there'll be different facets. Like if you look at different media, like often I'll see brands where Facebook may, whatever posts they put up, they'll put up the same thing on Insta, the same thing on LinkedIn, the same thing on the same thing on Twitter. So
Yes.
that's marketing.
Okay.
Someone who comes to Pinterest is coming for a completely different reason. Someone who comes to Insta comes for a completely different reason. And you need to appeal to that. Like you'll have actually a lot of, you should, like a lot of people have multiple handles.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm on Facebook, I'm on Insta, I'm on Twitter.
Yes.
Uh, Here's your opportunity to connect with me. Tell me your story, but tell me in different ways on different mediums. The same story. Find interesting aspects. I go to Insta because it's very picturesque and it's nice. Like when you, before you upload an image in Insta, you think 10 times. With Facebook, you just upload anything.
Okay.
Okay,
Nice.
there's a different mindset with these. The profiles of people are different in Facebook and in Instagram. I'm just giving examples of social. Forget about like Google. Forget about the hardcore. Uh,
Okay, nice. Uh, so, what are the some low cost marketing techniques that any business can follow? They don't have to get into fancy advertising in Facebook or Google. So, any such techniques which are, a lot of audience will be small businesses, startups. So, any techniques you would like to tell which are low
Um,
cost and people
I
can
don't
really
know.
follow?
So like for example, I have used in my life, I've used with a lot of brands, I've used PR really well.
Hmm.
Okay, and not every brand is ready for PR,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why that is.
So
Because
for the audience, first, would you like to really tell how to use PR and just like a case study if you can give?
sure. So for example, what does PR do? I mean, at the end of the day, it's when you read about a brand in a newspaper, whether you're reading it in a physical format or in the e-format. Basically, you're saying, "Arey, if the journalist or if this publication is writing about this brand, there's so much more credibility attached to this brand." You know? So, I mean, everybody knows what PR does. But if you look at PR to strategically drive the imagery and the reputation of a brand, then like with anything else, there's a science to it. Okay, so I'll tell, when I told you that not everybody is ready for PR, that's because the media is looking for stories that will create a dent in the market. They don't want to come up with Gisapita stories because they will not be approved by the editorial team. Simple. Okay. So when you're a brand and you want to make a mark, depending on what your aspiration of the brand is, you'll have to figure uh, what is it that you want to communicate to the world at large. For the media also to first be convinced that hi, like you're worthy of being, of like a story being told about you. That's one. Okay, so the other is that it's not like you come in today. So supposing Shenaz launches XYZ. Okay, people
Mm-hmm.
don't know Shenaz, they don't know XYZ. Let's assume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to build a relationship for people to get to know you. Like that with media, also you need to build a constant relationship so that they get familiarized with who you are. They start liking you,
As in
and
media journalist?
yeah,
Yeah.
the journalists or publications, and they like you for the right reasons. If they
Yes.
don't like you, they can write a bad story
And how
for
to
the
build that relation with them?
so there's a yeah, so there are a lot of I work with a lot of good PR agencies also. Plus, I have great relationships with certain journalists, across the globe. Um, and you kind of so that's why there's a responsibility for you as a marketer or a brand person as well to only go into the media as in from a PR perspective only if you're ready and if you know that it's worth their while. Otherwise, you're wasting the clients anyone's
Yes.
time, money, and
Mm-hmm.
the um, the other thing with PR is of course if it's done well and it captivates the attention, people will come to you for a story. People will come to you for an opinion. People will come to you to for you to represent them in say round tables. Wo, to reach that level also you need to have that ability and
Yes.
confidence.
Yes.
And the most
This is
important
where the 30 years comes in.
uh, the most important piece is that not everybody is well versed with how to front a journalist, because there is if you're not exposed to how to interact with the media, then you will be blundering, or you will be waffling, and you will say stuff which you should not have said in the first place. So that's the other piece. I mean, just like last week, I was interacting with a startup. They've got a very good idea, but I kind of told them that I don't think you're ready to go into the media because you have had no exposure with the media. And we'll have to build that entire culture. We'll have to educate you, or we'll have to train you in media relations as well before you start fronting journalists. Because journalists, I mean, they can come up with questions from any side. You have to be
When is the right stage? When does a startup really goes for this media exposure?
No, like in my case, I'll tell you in shop. Let me use Shopmatic case. I use PR as a surrogate to brand advertising because I could not afford print and stuff. I couldn't afford TV advertising, and we wanted to go after 1 million customers, right? So then what would I do? You have to be very clear as to what your objective also is. So I really went all out in with PR, and we did a fabulous job.
I'll also tell you, before I was onboarding to Shopmatic, I really was searching it on the internet, the news articles and all. They really created credibility. Okay, this media has covered, and
हाँ,
I can
तो
trust
वही
them.
है.
Because you have to trust with payments, you have to trust with your products, your brand image, everything. Once you onboard to any of the
Yeah.
platforms,
So
so
even pitching Shopmatic to the media, I mean, I'm just saying, the words we use, why we said what we said. I mean, all of that was very, very important because
yes.
otherwise, hello, there are so many brands and there are so many companies doing so many things. Why
So I
should I?
remember reading articles, yes, before I was onboarding years back. Yes,
Thank
now
you.
I know from where it all came from.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, with everything, I must say that if you apply, if you do it thoroughly, and you don't cut corners from the start, then you will get results. I mean, honestly, you have to be smart at what you do, but you will get the results. The results will definitely follow.
Great. So now coming to the next question. Um, Now that AI is here and there's so many marketing automation tools, I was checking Simplified yesterday. There's so many of them. So how do you see scenario changing? Because content can be created by automation now, and what I see is that there will be so much of content now.
But what will resonate and continue to resonate is originality,
So
and
is that something to worry about? Because internet will be full of automated content. These
huh,
tools are just doing a good job now.
content, original content, created content, you will never be able to replace. It's like this AI can't understand the emotions of what's going on in your head. It cannot, because it cannot function that way. So it's like this: if you got your audience and you understand your audience really, really well. See, these tools, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, this is where we are all today. Even I use some tools sometimes to get some basic posts or whatever out, because it's just quicker. Or you just want to do a quick scan, of stuff, then you just do it and it'll generate loads of stuff. Now it's your intelligence and your mindset as to how you sift through that content to see if it's really making sense or not. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's an option, and that's something, it's an option that will stay and not something that you can sidestep. It's just that how you use it and where you use it is extremely important. See, just today, I think on social somewhere, I was seeing an AI generated imagery of something. Okay, it looks very pretty, it looks very cool, but it is AI generated.
Hmm.
There's a difference between what you generate with AI, and you will say, "Oh wow, it's like it really looks cool," but it is not. I mean, it's not like, it's like created through AI.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
not like coming from yeah,
So a lot of
originality.
people will make a lot of mistakes by just creating a lot of content. Let's see how things evolve. Next
Yeah,
2 to 3 years, I think a lot of evolution will happen in this content scenario. Okay.
definitely.
Now, coming to what are the most common mistakes, because you interact with a lot of startups, you're also a mentor at Startup India, I read in your LinkedIn profile. Um,
Yes.
and what are the, and you interact throughout the people in their journeys. What have you seen as the most common mistakes that people make in terms of branding in startups also and in, for bigger brands also? So, first, let's talk about startups.
I think there's a tendency to short circuit the system.
Okay.
And short circuit not because you want to, like not because your intention is wrong. You just want like everything to be done in a hurry. Arey, ye karna, ye karna. You have to like get it going, but you're losing time. With a startup, like the pressure is that, oh my God, you need to get your feasibility going. You need to test, whether you'll get your first 1,000 customers or first 2,000 customers. You're always in a hurry. And a lot of people mistake execution with strategy. I
Hmm.
find that very often. Like before they've even thought what the brand should stand for. If you question them, they've already thought of, oh, ad should be looking like this. Why? So they don't stand that, like if they don't stand like five, they can't withstand like five questions I will ask them. Like within the
Hmm.
first or second only, they I can see that they are like in not good territory because they've not thought it through. And the other thing is, the other one like big pitfall of how I see the universe functioning from a startup ecosystem perspective is, they they'll say, "Arey, like let me get to POC, let me get to first 1,000 customers or whatever 100 customers. Branding बाद में करेंगे, branding, marketing बाद में करेंगे, we'll do it later."
Hmm.
That's one big pitfall. You have to start thinking of the brand from the start of your journey, ideally. So
Okay.
all is not lost if, like, supposing after 3 years, in like I've come across a lot of brands who've been around for 7 and 8 years also in the
Hmm.
market. They're doing their sale, okay, but how they do it, what they do, they're good with that selling piece. But like, is the brand like do people feel for this brand? If tomorrow the brand doesn't exist in the market, are they going to get missed? Will people even think about, oh, ये brand था, अरे, my life has like come to a halt because ये नहीं है.
ऐसा भी होता है, मैं तो ये सोच रहा हूँ.
हाँ, ऐसा भी होता है. This happens. So that's the thing, which is that, so a lot of brands, like a lot of companies I've even interacted with, where I say, okay, fine, we are selling. Tell me what has worked for you, and then we start the process from there. Then what you do is like you refine the identity, you refine the GTM strategies, and when you like GTM is easy to say, but like digital, it requires an all-day effort every day of a whole team to be able to get it right. PR also functions very differently. So does like any other advertising
सो
from both.
ब्रांडिंग शुड, सबसे पहले ब्रांडिंग पे वर्कआउट होना चाहिए, उसके बाद कि ब्रांड की डेफिनेशन क्लियर होनी चाहिए, ब्रांड स्टैंड्स किसके लिए करता है, उसके बाद कुछ होना चाहिए.
Ideally, you should have thought through who's your target audience, what's your proposition, how you different.
And this is where people really make a mistake. They go
Definitely. Or
focus on sales,
huh.
but they don't focus on their what their brand really stands for.
So they want to get the POC and stuff going. A lot of times also, like, where I'm helping brands is, where like the founders have hired, say, marketing people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's where I function as a fractional CMO. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
if they've hired marketing people, but they can't judge whether what they are getting out of that team is good, bad, or ugly. They can't judge. They don't know better. So then I work with those founders and the CEOs, and it's not that I'm competing with that team, but I'm just telling them that perhaps you can look at it this way. Or no, if something is completely wrong, then it's my duty to call it out and say, "Arey yaar, this is like completely off. You cannot be spending so much time, effort, money on this because it will only burn a hole in your pocket and give you no results." So stuff like that. Like a lot of times you have people who, like when you put the cart before the horse, there's a phrase. क्या
Mm-hmm.
होता है फिर? If you think of it like logically, then why does a brand exist? Who is it meant for, and why you different? If you have that really taped up well, uske baad then it's like, you know you're in a better position to have this mapped off, and then like have a fight about, oh, this creative doesn't look good because this campaign is not working. I mean, that's the easier piece, but the hard work lies in that the beginning, where you cannot afford to compromise on your identity. You cannot afford to compromise on the tonality of the brand, because like if you do it, then you'll sound like someone else. And that's not the purpose of why you exist in the market.
Nice. So now, one important question. I was seeing a case study where Kalyan Jewelers worked with a lot of brand ambassadors, and they paid a lot of money when they could not even afford them. But then that really worked for them. So, how important are brand ambassadors, and at what stage they should be brought in? And should they be really brought in, or one should really work on content marketing, organic content marketing, and all? Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever we are watching any program or anything, we see so many ads with so many brand ambassadors. So, I mean, and this is going on for years.
Hmm.
Okay. It all depends. Like, I mean, okay, one is that if you use a brand ambassador, and we're going down the traditional path of brand ambassador being like, some guru in something, whether he's a hero, actor, actress, whatever your brand stands for. It's an expensive proposition. And sometimes you have to take a call whether this brand ambassador will actually overshadow the brand. People will only come to you because, oh, this one is there, and your product will mean nothing to them. And that's again like a fine call that you need to make. So brand ambassador is not for everyone. It works for certain campaigns. Today, I mean, the replacement of brand ambassador, or I can't say replacement, but the different way of looking at brand ambassadors is influencers. That's also working like really well. But again, there are influencers and there are influencers, and I know influencers charge lakhs of rupees or whatever, like huge amounts of money just to create content to slip in the brand story. You need to be smart about micro influencers or the kind of influencers you want to reach. And if you're trying to do the credibility story, you want people to create, you want there to be a buzz in the market about the brand, then you need to be very judicious about who you pick. Work with them. Don't look at
And
it as
how
an
to find these brand ambassadors? How to approach? I mean, event management companies.
nay. So it depends again on what it is that you're desiring. So remember when you're working on the tough exercise about who your brand is, what is its identity, what archetype does your brand belong to. You have all those answers, then you will choose. For example, you may say that no, my brand ambassador doesn't have to be Shah Rukh Khan, but it can be XYZ. So I'm a fan of Shah Rukh Khan,
Okay.
okay. But it can be XYZ. So, I mean, you have a lot of people who are in this business of, even like, there's sports companies who specialize in, managing the time and the advertising time for, these sports people. I just
Okay.
interacted with someone
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago. And like that, like you have all these people who are, it doesn't have to be, there's not event agencies. You have like specialists who like manage a Deepika Padukone, or who manage a Shah Rukh Khan, or who
And those can be approached directly
yeah,
through internet.
you can
Okay.
approach them directly or you go through an agency.
Nice. And how to approach influencers? Direct mail, Instagram DMs. or
You can
there
do
are also
that. You can do that and follow them, or of course, like there are a lot of agencies also now who are managing many influencers. So then, like you cut to the chase, because then you go to the agency, you brief them saying that okay, I'm looking for say 100 influencers across the country in these zones, and this is my definition. So there are a lot of companies, and I work closely with one of them, who actually have influencer models. Of course, like with anything now, for something like this, you need to be sure that you have the money to afford it. In my case, in some instances, I've used my own customers as influencers. Because if a
wow.
customer says a great thing about you, then they're influencing other people to come in, and buy your product. So
Hmm.
you can even use the customers as influencers as a great strategy if you have like a good equity with people. If you put the customer in front of the camera and they start saying, "Arey yaar, that that tawa broke or something happened," then please don't they don't serve as influencers.
Yes, yes, yes. Nice. Great. Now, another aspect I'm coming to.
Sure.
It has become very easy to sell in US and global marketplaces. Okay, I'm especially talking about US because US is the biggest market, which what I have realized. Market is little smaller in Europe, UK, and Australia when it comes to Indian products, and US alone serves a major thing. And we also, it's a little personal question also. So we also do sell in US through Amazon now.
Sure.
Um, and I'm sure a lot of brands are already doing this. They are selling across US through their own websites, and even in Shark Tank, there's also many brands doing that.
Yeah.
So how does one approach marketing in US? A D2C brand in India approach marketing and branding in US?
No, so this is one thing. Like if you're
Because
looking at,
sales generally people crack through marketplaces or through maybe performance marketing, but how to really build up a brand? Because what I also have learned is US is very expensive.
yeah.
What you can just get it done free in India, you really pay for the air you breathe there. It is
I
so
think
expensive.
I think any
Yes.
market outside of India is greatly, like it's like overpriced or very expensive. But I mean, like you said, right, like Amazon has a US whatever wing,
Yeah.
uh, and through Amazon US you're able to sell say Nyra in the US market, and if it's giving you results, brilliant. Okay, now like in any marketplace you'll have to work the marketplace out. But if your question is about how do you create a dent in the
Brand,
market,
because
your
what I've also learned is that US is not very high price products sell in US. वहाँ पे भी बहुत सस्ता माल बिकता है, मतलब
sure.
चाइनीज प्रोडक्ट्स हैं वहाँ पे. इट्स नॉट कि आप 2000 की चीज 10,000 में यूएस में बेच लोगे. इट्स नॉट
Right. Yeah,
दैट. Market is price competitive, and we have to develop a brand and make a brand in US as well.
sure.
So how do we
No,
approach branding in US?
no. So the way to look at it is figure out, see, get an influencer strategy going. I'm looking at like the low cost items
Yes,
first.
yes, yes.
Okay, PR does help, or placement of stories does help. But then again, US is also a huge market, right? So you have to be like extremely clear as to which part of that of the market will you tap, and for what reason. That is one. The other is that if you're doing your brand building activities right now, like so for example, I'm just saying that you're creating a story and you've like become like a great brand, say in India, suppose,
Hmm.
and you want to tell people that hey, a leading brand of Indian kitchenware
Hmm.
is actually like available in the US. And like as an expat, you don't, I mean, largely people who understand Indian cooking will buy Indian kitchenware, right? Otherwise, like, why would they buy? They use different, their cooking styles are also different. What they eat is very different. So you're appealing to that sentiment, and there are enough and more ways to reach that audience. You can do WhatsApp marketing. You can actually do live podcasts, which are as in like I was speaking to someone who's into live video commerce, and I can actually introduce you to them. Where उसमें you set the right time to appeal to a US audience, and you just through your social pages you kind of target, do some social media advertising, where your location is set for the US, and
Hmm.
you're precluding, like you're removing India or other markets. So only people in the US will see it. And then you host these live things. Start small, and then
Hmm.
we'll create that surround sound for the brand.
Nice, nice. Great. So now coming over to Skyful, what all your marketing advisory firm does, and who are the people you have as clients? What is the profile of your clients? What all
Sure.
can people approach you for, and at what stage of their business they can approach you for?
So, Skyful, I mean, obviously, with these 30 years of experience, the natural thing for me to do, obviously, was, to go back and build this marketing advisory. I didn't want to be an agency, like, because there are 100 agencies or 1,000 agencies. So, I wanted to be very specific about being a marketing advisory and helping startups or businesses with very specific areas if they want me to do execution. So, for example, if someone needs help with digital marketing or social media management, or they want GTM strategies, or they want performance marketing, or they want PR. Then I work with my partner ecosystem. So I've built a partner ecosystem as well who work almost like a white label extension of my brand. So I only bring these people in when I see that a client is telling me, Shanaz, I need help with the execution. So I bring them in and I trust them. I bring them in only because obviously they're validated. I know I worked with them earlier and I know that I can get the results out from them. So then we get the pieces rolling. Like as we speak, I have a brand. Like I'm working with someone to do someone in the EV space, and you've seen that. And we kicked it off with like a lot of PR, and I'm working with a partner agency to drive that agenda. Or like someone else, there's a startup who's coming. I mean, it's in stealth mode, so I can't explain the category. Uh, but they wanted to get a brand identity exercise going. They had all they knew was this is what they want to sell, and they had the name. So we are working on an identity exercise again with a partner, and I'm very involved in that process. It's not as like, so for me, like I'm working with all kinds of businesses. So of course, marketing and brand building takes a little money, na. So one of the things is that I do a lot of work where I'm helping people SE. But like when you're running a business, and you have to balance your time out as well. So
Yes.
yeah, so like people who are they may be pre-series A or whatever, but some funding is important. The people should have some money for me to work with them. SN, there are models where I'm working with someone in the apparel space, and they don't have. They are like really like starting out new, but I liked what they're doing, so I'm partnering with them with a very token amount, like a fee. But the reason why I insist on a token amount also is because then they need to work equally hard on the brand.
Yes.
A lot of times I see that I'm interacting with people, and they come, they take advice, and they go, and like they've not followed anything, they've not done anything. I don't know whether they were serious about it or what. So that's something I'm a little sticky about. But yeah, so like
Great.
the good thing is that it's a mix of different kinds of brands that I'm working with. I also work with VCs because with VCs, obviously they have vested interest in seeing the success of a brand. So I
Yes.
work with some of their portfolio companies to help drive the brand to success. And I have something called the marketing path to profitability, which is like something that I'm very passionate about. And there's a science to how you go about the marketing path to profitability. So yeah, I dive in and help there. The Startup India mein I'm a mentor. So I
Yes. Yes.
ran a marketing path to profitability ka cohort with about 20, 30 startups from very
Okay.
different kind of spaces. Someone is into shipping cargo, someone's into like, very, very different kind of profiles of people. And it was like I ran it for some 3, 4 months on every Friday. And it was like a fun exercise. It always gave back.
Great. So I'll be dropping your email ID in case anybody wants to approach you. So
Certainly.
yes, in
Sure.
the podcast and this. Yes. And okay, coming over to the last section of the podcast, it's a small rapid fire round that we'll do.
Oh
Just
gosh.
one word answer you have to give. Okay,
Sure,
very
sure.
easy. Content marketing versus performance marketing.
Extremely different.
Choose one.
Content marketing.
Great.
Content. And
Bootstrap versus funded.
Arey Baba, don't do this to me. Funded.
Funded. My God.
Because of what I just said. Nee, Bootstrap, I work with Bootstrap as well. And I work with other people as well. But I just explained to you why, like, no.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if I suggest something to them, they should have the money to be able to spend that, na? So
Absolutely.
that
Yes. Just having a brand ambassador is not enough. You even have to spend then on marketing and all. Yeah.
and like for example, if you just want to do your brand identity exercise where you
Hmm.
set the rules of what your brand will look like, feel like, talk like, that whole tonality and stuff, that also takes money. Even if you go
Yes.
to, like, even if I tell, get my friends or whoever to help, say that keep the budget low, but there's still a cost to
Cost to
do.
cost. Yes, absolutely.
So yeah.
Yes. So, MBA
And
versus non-MBA.
say again,
MBA versus non-MBA.
doesn't matter. Honestly,
Non-MBA.
doesn't matter. No,
Doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
Doesn't
Doesn't matter.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I've seen that happen in the sense that, of course, when you study, then you learn the ropes in the theoretical piece. But I've worked with an equal set of MBAs and non-MBAs, and I've seen like success happen for both of them. So ऐसा नहीं है कि someone
Yes,
has a
yes,
bigger
yes.
advantage. It depends on how the person applies their mind,
Hmm.
work, and how they grab the opportunities.
Nice. Okay, so rented office in a posh location or owned office in a not so posh location?
Arey Baba, this no, you should have a third one. You can do co-working space. It is neither rented nor is it owned. It's a co-working space. Like you're actually working with an environment which looks really good. At
Hmm.
Shopmatic, we had a co-working space.
Really? In
Yeah,
Bangalore?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very
Such a big
much.
company?
Yeah, no, it was like super. Like there was nothing. It was not as if you were saving costs. It's just
Hmm.
that the environment, like when you're a startup, then you want also to interact with startups. So within these co-working spaces, you also create your own separate
Hmm.
area.
Yes, you get your own cabins, your own,
We had a
yes,
whole
yes.
section which we had kind of
Okay.
dedicated to ourselves, and it was like the going is good.
So it was good working at co-working space. I mean, the energy was good, the workflow went
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it was super fun. It really was super fun. Also
Okay, nice.
interacting with different kinds of people, different startups. In fact, some of the people I met at the co-working spaces are reaching out to me for help for their brands.
So
Strange.
you great networking opportunity also.
Very good.
But is it not distraction in any way? A lot of people bumping in here and
You
there.
could just be in your office now. It's like
Hmm.
this. Like you could be in your office and you'll be in the same office there. It's just that when you step out of your office and you supposing you go to the cafeteria,
Hmm.
then you bump into different kinds of people
Hmm.
and
It's
you say
good.
hello. It depends. A distraction can happen even in your house.
Yes, absolutely.
तो वो तो आपका डिसिप्लिन होना चाहिए ना. You need to be disciplined about what you want to do.
Great. Corporate versus startup.
Startup.
Hmm.
The
Nice.
energy of a startup, I mean, I've done it both sides, right? Like obviously I work with
Yes,
really
of course. That's why you're the best person to answer this.
so the best agency and my fundamentals were like brilliantly mapped out from there because 20 years
Hmm.
is a long time for you to learn so many things and also apply that learning. So corporate is great, but I always tell people that startup ka jo energy hai,
Hmm.
the learning that you have on a startup, like
Hmm.
you it's irreplaceable. So you should in your whole career you should have some startup experience in my view because it shapes you. Then you decide, nahi yaar, startup is too much of a struggle, and it is a struggle.
It
Not
is.
every startup goes into like and they live happily ever after story. We know that it doesn't happen that way,
It's
but
very tough. And it's also not very certain when you work with startups,
uh,
not very certain. Yeah.
but of course, almost like, it's like the fundamentals, the best practices that you learn in, say, a corporate environments is like, because of the exposure you get. Like, I got great exposure working with all kinds of brands, not only like within India or not only within a state,
Mm-hmm.
but like across the world. That exposure is irreplaceable, and that then sets the tone in your head as to, okay, if these are the possibilities, because you're working with like 5 or 10 or 20 brands at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then it kind of gets you to think very nimbly as well. And
Yes.
yeah, so whatever.
Nice. Okay.
Depends. Hmm.
Ola versus Uber.
I'm an Uber person.
Uber.
I use
Okay.
Ola off and on. As in, I think also that, though be okay, let me not be the bad customer and complain, because Uber is going
Uber
to
is the answer. Yeah.
don't put on the
When I
AC.
speak to people from metros, I'll tell you they always say Uber, and when I speak to people from tier two cities, they say Ola. So maybe
Because the investment of these companies has also been like that, no? Like the Ubers and all invested a lot in
tier
metros,
one
and
cities. Yeah.
and the profiles are good. The only thing is that, abhi, like with this cost cutting, everything is doubled, right, in terms of pricing. So you see some of the drivers really acting up. You're paying money, but they don't put on the AC. They say, "nahi, AC nahi chal raha." So
Oh
you
yes, even I faced that. Even I faced that.
cover so often. That's a big
Yes.
pain. That's a big pain.
Self, okay, own car. Self-driving own car or Uber versus Uber.
I love my own car because I love driving. But
Okay.
I there are often times, like especially in a market like Bangalore, where
Hmm.
you need, like, I have meetings or I need to go into, say, wherever, which is 1 hour, 2 hours of drive. Then definitely I want a, yeah.
Okay. Gurgaon versus Bangalore.
Bangalore.
You've been to-
There's no comparison. Bangalore is like amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Last question. Mm, North Indian food versus South Indian food.
I love both. ऐसा
Okay.
नहीं है. I mean, I've been staying in Bangalore for a long time, so I love South Indian food and I love North Indian food also. ऐसा कुछ नहीं.
Great.
And I'm Parsi, so like yeah, we are very like flexible about food. We love food.
Great. So thank you so much, Shahnaz. It was really insightful to speak to you. I got
Uh,
really some good, very insights, even for myself and my brand. Um, so I look forward to again doing even more intense session with you sometime again.
No
And
worries, for
uh,
sure. I enjoyed the conversation because it felt like a conversation and not like one, typical interview. And I must congratulate you on the strides you have made in your business, and I wish you and the team, like,
thank you.
all the success that you need. And you need to bounce off anything on marketing, then
Thank you
you know.
so much. Thank you so very much. So generous of you. And
Not at all.
thank you so much. Okay.
Thanks, Shashank. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye bye.
Bye. Bye.